What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to Books and Hoops podcast here on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. So this week we're going to be diving into something that is a little bit different. We're going to be comparing why the NBA and the MLB are basically similar in a sense to where they're both whatever. So if you guys enjoy these podcast episodes, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you, and make sure you rate the podcast and follow us over on Instagram at Books and Hoops Pod. We got all sorts of things going on over there. So, yeah, as I said, today we're going into why the MLB and NBA are more similar than you think. And so hear me out. Everybody thinks that baseball and basketball are completely different worlds. But if you really break it down, the MLB and NBA are built basically on the same foundation. First off, both of those leagues, they're star-driven. Like, the NBA, you have veteran players like LeBron James, who's still bringing millions of dollars in revenue, Stephen Curry, but then you also have the younger side of NBA where you have Nikola Jokic, Alfred Şengün, Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton. And then in MLB, you have players like Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge taking over, but then you have young players like Nick Kurtz and Carson Bench and Francisco Alvarez and Anthony Volpe and Denzel Clark making highlight reel catches. Like, they are more similar than what you realize. They have different impacts, but the same idea. The Stars won the league. And honestly, like, I couldn't agree more with this because you look at the star talent in the MLB and in the NBA. Like, it's all big names and everything. Like, you got your veterans, like I said, like the Mike Trouts and the Manny Machados and the Justin Verlanders, and then you got your young players like Jacob Mizorowski or Romelo Ball or Con Knipple. Like, you have so many, like, and they're basically. I mean, the second reason behind this theory is that both leagues are essentially built on matchups, like 1v1. Basketball, you have the isolation game, you have the switches, you have the who's guarding who. Like, is the point guard gonna guard the center? Is the point guard gonna guard another point guard? Like, and baseball, and in MLB you have like, every pitch is basically one on one. Like, you got to watch in the World Baseball Classic a couple years ago when it was the U.S. vs. Japan, you got to watch Shohei Ohtani strike out Mike Trout, or you have, like, every pitch in baseball is basically a 1v1 in the NBA. Like, they're so similar and they're so breaking down. It's pitcher versus hitter. Like, it's a chess match. Like, the pitcher could hate the hitter, or the hitter could hate the pitcher, and it just brings so much energy when you watch a player come back from an 0-2 count and hit a walk-off grand slam, or just baseball brings the energy every night. The NBA does too, don't get me wrong, but baseball, it's like more like personal beef. Like, you could hate a pitcher's guts, or you could hate a batter's guts, and guess what? Or in that moment, you have to just. Every pitch is a new opportunity. You could go 0 for 3, 0 for 4, and your fifth at bat, you would come up with the game-winning hit. Where in NBA, you make, let's say, 3-4 fouls, you're probably out of the game until the fourth quarter. They're both very similar. Like, the energy, the fruition. Like, in NBA, we have Dylan Brooks just being a villain, being that guy, and like, they're very similar in a sense to where. Well, actually, we'll get to that segment, but I think both leagues are heading towards a potential expansion. The MLB is heading towards a potential lockout in 2027. I do see a world in 2027, during the 2027 MLB lockout, assuming it happens, that we could get MLB expansion teams. I know it's kind of been rumored in a sense to where, I mean, the A's are already moving to Vegas. They're currently playing in Sacramento. But the only thing you could really say that's different from the NBA and MLB is that the MLB does not have a salary cap. And this is something that the players and owners have been going back and forth about, is a sense like, how can we get this right where it is, where the NBA does have a salary cap, So that's like really the only difference between the two is who has a set. But they're very similar as the points I brought up. Like you got star talent all over the diamond. Like I think that is just like phenomenal. And then let's talk about the third reason and why I think that the third reason is important in a sense to where it is. So the grind and the consistency. Now this is where I think people might either disagree with me or they might agree with me. But I think that these games are similar because of the grind and consistency. And the NBA, you're playing 82 games. Sometimes you could be playing back-to-backs. Like, you could be playing in LA one night and then having to travel to Golden State the next day. And you're consistently traveling. In MLB, you're playing back-to-backs. Probably 4 days or 4 days, and you get 1 day off, and then you're going back on the road or back home to play another 3-4 games. So the consistency of both these leagues and the consistent travel, like the NBA, you could be on the West Coast, like I just said, playing in LA, going to Golden State, playing in Sacramento, playing in wherever, and then let's say you're an East Coast team like the Knicks, and then you gotta fly back home for a 1-game home series with a rival, and then you fly back out and go, let's say, to the Midwest. Like the NBA travel schedule would be crazy, but in the MLB, I think it's even more crazy. Like, you're playing 162 games a season, and you're playing series. So you're not just playing one series or not just playing two series. Like, you're playing a series against one team, either a 3 or 4 game series, getting a day off, either on a Monday or a Thursday, and then having to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, it's a grind in MLB. It is a grind. And this is why I think both leagues are similar, because the travel and the consistency, it takes a lot of time away from your family. Like, you don't get to see your family much during the season because of the amount of time you are spending with your team. And again, like I said, like, both leagues are led by talent. Like, there's no, like, and these guys show up on a consistent basis. Like, you got Luka Doncic showing up consistently, or you got Shohei Ohtani showing up consistently on every night. Like, these guys put 110% effort in, despite the fact that they're playing 162 games or 82 games. Where in the NFL, you only really play 17 games in the National Football League, and it's the grind. I mean, in the NHL, you're playing 82 games, but the NHL has like a longer All-Star break the past couple years than these two sports have. And yeah, I mean, the consistency, like, every single day you gotta show up. Every single day, it may not be a big game, but you may necessarily need to win that game to get. It's high intensity, high pressure. Like, there's a lot of things that make both these sports very similar. And then, like, another big reason is the analytics have taken over the game. Like, and analytics have taken over every sport, but especially with these two. The NBA, it's all about 3 points, efficiency, spacing, player efficiency rating, where the MLB tracks basically everything from exit velocity all the way to launch angle. And the front offices in both leagues are very similar. Like, in the NBA, but front offices in both leagues are making decisions based on numbers more than really ever. And it's not just talent. It's basically data at this point. And there's something about underrated and rhythm in both leagues. And the NBA, a team can go on a 15-0 run and then flip a game instantly. Where in baseball, a couple hits in an inning can completely change everything. And I've seen this. Like, I've gone to my fair share of baseball games, and I've seen innings where, whether it's the Yard Goats or the Mets, like, or the Red Sox or the Yankees, like, in baseball, like, you could have 4 innings where you only get like 1 hit, and then, like, the 7th inning you could explode for like 10 hits and 6 runs. Like, it's very insane. It's very, very insane. And then the momentum and rhythm in both leagues, I think, are better, just in general, because Oh no, wait, yeah, I already said that. But yeah, I do think that the momentum and rhythm are a lot better in both leagues compared to the other two major sports. Again, this isn't a knock on the NHL. This isn't a knock on the NFL or the WNBA or the MLS or the Premier League. We're just strictly going off the NBA and the MLB. And then also like another reason why I think that it's because both teams have a long history of evolving their style of play. Like the NBA kind of has shifted the past couple years from a mid-range to a three-point domination, and the MLB switched from small power to hitting. But it's phenomenal. But also like baseball, they've added pitch clock violations. So like if a pitcher's not ready within a certain amount of time, they get violations. You have challenges now. Like both teams are always finding ways to improve the game, which both leagues are finding ways to improve the game, and I think it's phenomenal. And yeah, I mean the pitch clock in MLB can get a little annoying sometimes, but both teams are very similar in the way that they do things. And then, both leagues have personality, and they both have engagement. And you're probably wondering, like, what do you mean by that? Like, all leagues have engagement, don't they? And the truth is, they do, but they don't. Like, the NBA has always been expressive on with celebrations, the social media, the branding, and even now in MLB, like they're stepping into that too, where they got the bat flips, they got the emotion, they got the swagger. Like some of the best bat flips in the MLB have been phenomenal. Like I remember the Jose Bautista bat flip during I think the 2014 playoffs against the Texas Rangers, where he just like flips it, like phenomenal. And the cool thing about it is that both the league's fans, they don't just like the fans. We don't just watch the games. We follow the players, like, and that's a cool thing. Like, and the both leagues like are building such good fan bases where people like fans aren't just watching games. Like they're following these fan bases. They're following these players on social media, or they're tweeting at them. They're doing their thing. Like it is so phenomenal to see how this game is growing and to see how kind of like this opportunity has careered itself. And both commissioners are about improving the game. Not so much Rob Manfred. That's a conversation for a different day. But Adam Silver has always been about making the game better, and Rob Manfred has too. Even though Rob Manfred has some questionable decisions when it comes to some of the stuff that happens, but we ain't gonna get into that today. But yeah, both commissioners are pretty good too. Adam Silver is all about trying to make their league work, and Adam Silver does do a lot of work when it comes to helping the WNBA grow and helping the G League grow. So Adam Silver is doing his thing. Rob Manfred does his thing, but yeah, both. And yeah, and then like my last point for you all is, people may say that baseball is slow, and that basketball is fast, and honestly, they're not wrong about that. They are not wrong. But when you say that baseball is slow and basketball is slow, you are missing the bigger picture. At their core, both sports have the same stars, the big names. They have the same grind. They have the same strategy. And most importantly, they have the same evaluation and a lot of the times both leagues have the same fans. So like if you watch the NBA, you probably watch the MLB as well. Not in all cases, but about, let's say, 75% of the fans that watch the NBA watch the MLB. And I'm one of those fans. So, but yeah. And I feel like that's why that's why the MLB and the NBA aren't as different as people think. They're just two versions of a competitive mindset. And what I mean by competitive mindset is these guys are going out there playing 82 games. I mean, like probably 95 games if you make the postseason. And the NBA, and then you have 162 games plus maybe another maybe 180 if you make the World Series. So both these sports are very similar in a sense where I don't think people realize like how good they are. But you guys can let me know down in the comment section below, like Do you guys agree with these takes? Do you disagree with these takes? Do you think that the NBA and the MLB are completely different when it comes to competitiveness or view range? But you're welcome to know. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this podcast episode. Always remember that you matter, and that Jesus loves you. And I'll see you guys next episode. Peace out.